Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. So there I was. This is episode number 67, entitled Blancolirio.
White Lily. There you go. With our friend Juan Brown from the Blancolirio channel. Sponsor this week is Robin's Bird Brain Designs. Juan joined us from the West Coast. He is quite the eclectic aviator. Started off in light civils. Bought his own airplane at 15 years old. Man, that's motivation.
He is a very interesting aviator and has great stories. And what a background. What a background full of experience.
Went and got his airframe and power plant license from the FAA, making him a certified FAA mechanic. He's a wide-body captain at a major airline. He has a YouTube channel called, oddly enough, Blancolirio, Blancolirio. If you're interested in aviation incidents, he has spot-on analysis, and he gets it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
My favorite was the show opener. Where did he find himself?
Yeah, inverted in a flat spin in a pit special with no spin training.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
And thanks also to our compadre and helper and fellow naval aviator Sticks.
Yeah,
thank you, sir, for reaching out to Juan and inviting him on the show. Nice job.
You are more than welcome. And I just refer to myself as your humble administrative assistant.
Well, let's go with that.
Sticks is like the best autopilot ever. He's just in the background working his ass off. You never know he's there, because he's so good. And
he's the guy to write to if you've got questions about those
absolutely
terrifying machines that try to tear themselves apart while flying.
Gyrating death traps.
We want your questions. We want questions. Also, if you have an interest in aviation, we want your questions about how to get started, because we're going to be working on an episode where we're going to bring in some expert aviators and put those questions to them.
That's going to be a good one. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, it is. We were hoping to do that for 75, but that is sneaking up on us very quickly. That may not be 75, but we'll do our best. So how would someone send you a question there, Sticks?
So you can reach me at sticks@sothereiwas.us.
And if you want an expert answer, then write to fig at sothereiwas.us. And if you want an idiot answer, write to me, repeat, REPETE. I can't even spell it right. At sothereiwas.us.
Well, you got that backwards.
Yeah, well, hey, thanks to our new supporter, patron pilot this week, Steve Bates, call sign
master.
Had to do it to you, sir. Shouldn't have told us your last name if you didn't want it.
Sorry, master.
Yeah. Thanks to Brad Silcott at BDS, Bravo Delta Sierra, aviationphotography.com. Boy, those are some amazing shots. Go look at those sometime. He has a page on Facebook as well. Unbelievable aviation photography. So thank you very much for allowing us to use some of your work on our website to make it look prettier. And let's see what else. We got the merch store. What can you get at the merch store?
A bikini.
You can get a bikini for your wife and your girlfriend.
Just don't let them meet.
Don't let them meet.
Yeah. I got a search and rescue story that will fit that.
Oh. All right. Well, we'll do that in an episode.
That's another episode.
All right.
Absolutely. Very soon. And let's see what else. Glossary. So there it was.us/glossary. And tell us if you've got a term you've heard that we didn't get up there, so we know what that is. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, please. Go there. Give us 5 stars. Even if you hate the show, just give us 5 stars anyway. No, what's a few stars among friends?
And share the show. Share the show with your friends, man.
Please put an episode, your favorite episode of this show, up on Facebook so other people will hear it, see it, and go, oh, what's this about? That's how we're growing. And we are growing. So you are sharing it. Keep doing it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for doing that.
I don't know. Let's get out of the way and listen to Juan Brown. Any sage advice for our listeners before next week? Come on, Sticks. We know you got it.
Don't let go of the collective
story.
That's a given.
Yeah. At night,
don't sit on the ejection seat.
Don't sit on the ejection seat.
On the tanker.
Hey, here comes Juan.
Through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that. Thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly...
Well, there I was in an inverted flat spin in a pit special with no formal training.
Terrifying.
That is terrifying. And welcome to So There I Was. And that is how all terrifying aviation stories start. This is Fig, and we have a special guest with us today. But where are you today, my co-host Repeat?
I am in New Hampshire for a few more hours, then down to recurrent training. Repeat here, and we are thrilled and honored to have with us today Juan Brown of the Blancolirio channel on YouTube. And if you're at all interested in aviation safety, man, that's the place to go. Because I'll tell you what, he just boils it right down in a nutshell quickly and has extremely good analysis. So thank you for joining us, sir. We're honored.
Yeah, Juan. Welcome
Hey,
aboard.
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
You
very
have
cool.
a
So
giant following on YouTube. Giant.
You sometimes wonder, you make these videos here in the house and you wonder, is anybody listening out there listening? And then you go to an air show or something and then you meet the people and you go, oh man, there's a lot of people watching.
That's pretty awesome. So how did that all come about?
The Blancolirio channel. So I started goofing around on YouTube not long after it was invented. And I wanted to do motorcycle videos and that sort of thing. And so I figured I better be anonymous because of my line of work as a commercial airline pilot. So I'll just jump on my wife's YouTube channel, Blancolirio. Jenny, she's from Spain. She just made that name up late one night, Blancolirio. And I started posting on there. Before you knew it, it was too late to change it. I don't know how to change it. And now it's a thing that people look for. So that's how the channel got its name. So it's all really Jenny's channel.
That's
I love it.
Perfect. And it is, the translation is White Lily, I believe.
Yep. And she just made that up. So goofing around on YouTube for years with motorcycle stuff and little GoPros, and then and doing some local press coverage for our local newspaper. Mom was a freelance writer. Dad was an aerospace engineer, and I'm an airline pilot. So you put those three together, you kind of get the idea of what the channel, how it works. So then in February of 2017, the Spillway failed here in Orville in rather dramatic fashion and caused a very chaotic and scary emergency evacuation of tens of thousands of people downstream from the Orville Dam. And so I hopped up in my little Luscombe at the time and a GoPro camera and flew over the emergency, filming it, and then did a little voiceover explaining what was going on. And that video went nearly what I consider viral on this channel. It shot up to 400,000 or 500,000 views real quickly with thousands of comments and questions. And I realized, oh man, I've got a big story here to tell, because nobody was getting it right in the media. They didn't know the difference between a spillway and a dam and what the heck was actually happening there. So I just took it upon myself to make that a full-time job of reporting first on the emergency and then the rebuilding of the Orville spillway, which was a great engineering feat that was 10 years worth of work crammed into 2 seasons. Wow. And I gained the trust of the DWR, Department of Water Resources, and Kiewit Engineering, who was doing the rebuild, and they allowed me excellent access to the site to continue to report on it.
Oh, nice.
Well, that's cool.
Okay. That's what really put the channel on the map. I went from 4,000 subscribers to 40,000 subscribers nearly overnight, and grew pretty steadily out of the Orville thing, which took 2 years. And then folks had more and more questions about, well, the airplane, the Luscombe, and so I started doing a little bit more flying things, but I didn't really want to. Then an aircraft accident would happen and people would have questions about it. And I was reluctant to get into it because, as you know, 0 to 0, if you say one thing wrong in aviation, you're just going to get burned instantly. Right. And I'm not I kind of get these things done really quick. And, but I went ahead and took a shot at it, and pretty soon those videos became even more popular than the Orville series. and people wanted more and more information on aviation incidents and accidents as they happened. And so I kind of developed a formula and a routine, which you see today on the channel, of how I report on these things and get them done, get them knocked out pretty quick.
Yeah, that's
Right?
pretty awesome, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you get, like, for instance, today as we're recording this, it was about 3 days ago now, or maybe 2 days ago, that Delta had an emergency evacuation on the runway. And it was clearly, I'm assuming it was a passenger who shot some iPhone video. Mm-hmm. And then how do you get your hands on that and ask them for it? Is that
pretty process? Quick? Yeah. You want to try and grab it off of social media, Twitter, Facebook, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And you can either ask them for permission if you can get the permission quick enough, or just take a shot at it and download it, put your face on there, kind of make it your video such that you are either commenting over it or doing something a little bit different from the video than the original video, and then go from there. But yeah, copyright is a big deal, and it's I'm always one foot on a banana peel and the other one on a third copyright strike at YouTube. And if you get 3 in a row, you are out of there, man. And you could be out of there for 90 days or more with 3 copyright strikes. So that's
be painful.
One quick and easy way to get demonetized at YouTube.
Yeah, that's nothing to screw around with then.
But the other thing I noticed is that what does everybody get on all the major news channels? Well, there's an open investigation, so we don't want to speculate. And obviously, there are times when you don't even need to speculate. A cause is clear, or there are other facts that can be stated. And the avoidance of that is always fascinating to me. How do you balance that between?
That was a big hurdle to overcome on the channel. Is first, you got to establish yourself as somebody that knows what they're talking about on the topic. And then the old mentality of let's wait until the final NTSB accident report is out. Well, that's going to take you 2 years. And there's things that we can learn about right here, right now, especially with today's technology. Things like ADSB data, ADSB exchange, or flight aware, or flight radar 24. Boom, there's right away, you've got all the GPS information. Live ATC, boom, there's all the ATC radio transcriptions live from it. And then you got social media, and people are taking video of this accident. You put all 3 of those together, and you can get a very complete picture within 24 hours of what actually happened. And then you don't want to begin placing blame right away. You want to say, these are the things that investigators will be looking at, and bring out those points as you see them.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. I think you do a fantastic job personally of balancing that, not waiting 2 years and getting the word out there as to, hey, here's what you can tell happened, like you say, right off the ADSB and ATC and that sort of thing.
And then it's interesting to come back 2 years later or follow the public docket. You get a preliminary report out pretty quick from the NTSB. Follow up with that story. Then you get the public docket. Oh, man, you've got thousands of pages of documents to pour through there. And there you can pull another video out of that. And then you'll get the final report. And after talking with the NTSB, they like to see, does anybody actually read all this product that we put out in the end? Everybody wants to just see the first blast of information, but very few of us go back and see the final report, because there's details in that report that we didn't even see in the initial report, and a lot of good lessons to be learned in the final report. So it's neat to follow up all the way through to the logical conclusion some 2 years later. But the audience isn't really there. The audience, man, the lifespan of these videos is such that an incident happens, you report on it within a day or two, and that video takes off and is already done in about 24 hours. The half-life of that video is maybe 24 hours or less before the number drops right off. So the thing with YouTube and doing this sort of journalism thing is that you got to keep feeding the machine. You got to keep after it. Once
Feed the beast.
Created a job, you've created a full-time job here, man. You got to stay after it.
It is a full-time job. So do you? Is this a regular? Do you have a do you try to keep a schedule, or is it based on events?
Based on events, as a minimum, I try to get at least 2 videos out a week, something at the beginning of the week and something towards the end of the week. But some weeks will be a video a day, and then other weeks I'll be up in Idaho fishing, like last week, and and the viewers just leave. It just flattens right out. So if there's no news, there's no viewers.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot with a question that it's maybe a yes/no question. There was one off of Portsmouth, or actually Hampton, New Hampshire, last week. It was a champ or a cub, and there was video of that thing doing a ditching. Did you see that one? Did you report?
Yeah,
on that one?
banner tow. I think it was a banner tow operation, engine failure, and a busy, crowded beach, and he splashed it in right along the shoreline there.
He did indeed, yeah. And that thing flipped in about a half a second.
Yeah, and it looked to me that he did about as good a job as you could expect with a cub without an engine. I probably would agree with him to just take the water ditching as opposed to that crowded beach. I don't know if he had
probably too many people on the beach try to thread it in there.
Yep, and that reminds us how quick you're going to be upside down in the water. One of you guys is a former Navy puke, aren't you? There.
Well, we're both
of us are Marines.
Yeah, former Harrier pilots.
Oh, geez, Marines. So you know a thing or two about Dilbert dunking and inverted recoveries in the water and how damn confusing it is.
Oh yeah. The worst one was the helo dunker where you had to go blindfolded, inverted out the door.
Yeah.
Your buddy's kicking you in the face with his boot on the way out.
Steel-toed flight boots, not just any boot. So we both used to be pretty.
Yeah. Army training, sir.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. We didn't even get there yet. With our first question, as always, how'd you get interested in aviation?
Exactly.
Well, let's see. Dad was an aerospace engineer, and he got us into model airplanes very early on as kids. And Dad retired early out of the aerospace industry at Aerojet General in Sacramento and decided he wanted to become a gentleman farmer up here in the foothills, the beautiful foothills of Northern California, and start a Christmas tree farm. And I was the indentured servant on a Christmas tree farm, pruning and planting and harvesting these damn things. And the only saving grace is that this farm was located right near our local airport, where I'm still at today here, on the downwind. So these airplanes would be flying around all day long. And then we had, and we still have, this fantastic firebombing air attack base at Nevada County Airport. So back in the day in the 70s, it was like World War II. All these World War II era aircraft are launching out of Nevada County Airport and returning, fighting forest fires, B-17s, F-7Fs, TBMs. Just so me and my little brother, we just get on little bikes and pedal up to the airport and see what the heck was going on. And I just spent my whole childhood up there at the airport, hanging out, learning everything I could about aviation and learning how to fly. First starting washing airplanes in exchange for airplane rides, and then pumping gas, and then bought my first airplane when I was 15 years old, an old 1942 Taylor craft. Sold it on my 16th birthday, and then got my license near my 17th birthday, and then wrecked it by my 19th birthday, and then went to
I think there's a great aviation tale in there, but we'll come back to that.
Yeah, a little lesson in density altitude, boys and girls, something we talk about a lot on the channel. And then after high school, went to A&P school, airframe and power plant school, got my mechanics license, 2 years full-time, rebuilt the engine from that old Taylor craft, sold the airframe to wreck to rebuild. And then from there, went on to community college, and then finally those old-time air tanker pilots convinced me to go cut my hair and go join ROTC down at Sacramento State. So I wandered down to the ROTC detachment there at the local university with hair down to here, and they just laugh, and they say, "Kid, go take this test." And it's the OQT, the officer's qualification test. And so I start filling this thing out, and I say, "Oh, this is all about airplanes and flying." At least half of it was. This is easy.
Sure, yeah.
I just fill it all out. And I said, "Here you go, man." And they take a look at the score, and they say, "Son, go cut your hair and be back here Monday." And I ended up getting a scholarship out of that deal.
Outstanding.
And going off to pilot training. Then you get to pilot training. I had about 1,000 hours of bug smasher time, but nothing, no instrument time or nothing professional at all. And so they beat the crap out of me, making me fly the Air Force way. But they said, you can talk and fly at the same time if we got a job for you. And I said, no, I want that fighter assignment. I want that F-16. I'll even take an OV-10, whatever it takes. Yeah. I'm going to make you an instructor pilot. So sure enough,
no. So you got faped.
I was faped, man. T-37s too.
Oh, wow. Where
that
was that?
At Willie at Williams Air Force Base. I was lucky to get that. I was originally scheduled to go to Columbus, but I took an early option to go to Willie. And then I got to a prisoner swap as Dad was down with the cancer at that time, and I was able to switch the T-37 from Willie to Mather, which is what I always wanted to do. So I got to do the unheard of Northern California active duty tour, Air Force tour. So T-37s at Mather Air Force Base. And that, as you recall, is where they train navigators. So very unique job. You get to do all the flying from the left seat, teach these kids that are going to go into the back seat of fighter aircrafts as navigators or weapon systems operators, and teach them basic formation skills, aerobatic skills, and low-level skills. So I got to fly all around the foothills here of my hometown at 500 feet in the T-37 for 3 years and teach these guys the basics. And then I said, okay, I'm ready for my next assignment, that fighter assignment I've been dreaming for all these years. And they say, congratulations, Brown, you get your first available choice, a C-141 to Travis Air Force Base just down the street from Mather.
Jeez.
That don't look nothing like a fighter.
No.
But it was Northern California. I didn't even have to move. And that turned out to be a fantastic job, really learning how to fly a large crew airplane like the 141. And that was a difficult transition coming from T-37s for me to learn to handle that 141. And pretty quick, they promoted you to aircraft commander in the 141 because you came from ATC as an instructor pilot. And so they gave you a heap of responsibility very early on. And there we were with a cast of thousands, enlisted crew flying. This was strategic airlift, so we're just flying from one giant party to the next all around the world, hauling trash.
How about that? Hey, I don't know that we've covered FAPE before. FAPE stands for First Assignment Instructor Pilot.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Which is what happened to Juan.
And then you also said ATC, and I think instead of air traffic control, you meant air training command?
That's correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So you'd come as an instructor, they put you in there. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a big difference to go to a C-141 from a T-37.
Yeah. That was,
what year?
Nice.
What year did you get your wings?
that was class 8904 Williams Air Force Base.
Okay. So we're all about the same time frame. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you do your 3 or 4 years at the with the 141, and then you're kind of trying to guide the timing of the industry to make your jump to the airlines. And of course, there wasn't a good time when I transitioned from tweets to 141, so I took that second assignment. Then, got out with the 141s, applied twice, and was turned down twice by United Airlines. I did get picked up by the Nevada Air National Guard flying C-130s. They had recently transitioned from the RF-4 Phantoms to the C-130. So they were looking for anybody with does anybody got any CRM experience around here? Because I went up there and I was just flying with a bunch of pissed off old fighter pilots.
Hey, Juan, I'm gonna tell you right now, you and I went through C-130 school about the same time.
Ah, okay. Little Rock.
I am remembering you. I remember you now.
Oh, man. Uh-oh. Yeah, we take
no
a 6-week
kidding.
program and spread it into 6 months at Little Rock.
Right on.
Yes. Earlier, before we started recording, you put on your cheaters or something, and I thought, God, that guy looks familiar. And now you just said, you transitioned to to the Reno. I mean, Reno Guard.
Reno
right?
Guard unit. Yeah.
And that's where I know you from. Was from Little Rock back in would have been 98.
Yeah.
80s,
Yep. That's
right?
it. Yeah. Late 90s. Yeah.
That's when I went through C-130 school myself.
Oh man, that was a long, slow program, but it paid good and then about that same time, I got picked up by the U.S. Forest Service to get trained up as a lead plane pilot flying the Beach Barons for the Forest Service, and so that lasted for about a year until finally one more application into the airline I'm working for today, and got a job there and been there for the last 24 years.
Nice.
Yeah, excellent.
Very cool. Here at So There I Was, we're proud to welcome as a sponsor Robin's Bird Brain Designs. Looking for a unique and thoughtful gift? Well, look no further. At robinsbirdbraindesigns.com, they specialize in custom slate coasters that are sure to impress. Imagine having a set of coasters personalized with your squadron logo and call sign, or even your aircraft tail number and instruments. Whether it's for your aviation enthusiast friends or a special someone in your life, their custom coasters are the perfect way to show that you've put some thought into getting that something special for someone truly special. But it doesn't stop there. They can also create coasters with any organization logo and printing that you desire. From military units or sports teams, they've got you covered. Their high-quality coasters are made from durable slate, ensuring they'll stand the test of time. So why settle for ordinary gifts when you can give something extraordinary? Visit robinsbirdbraindesigns.com today and let them help you create custom gifts that show just how much you care. Because when it comes to thoughtful presents, they've got your back.
Flying T-37s. I'm gonna guess you got a lot of experience doing that as a FAPE. What if any was your hand on the ejection handle or
it's ATC, it's the T-37. It was just the easiest airplane to fly and to handle. There was really no oh shit moments at all in the T-37.
Okay, good.
We did spins all the time. Now we did have a kid that was doing a spin here at Bullard's Bar, and there was a mechanical failure of the flight controls, and the T-37 did not recover from the spin, and they did successfully eject and sent the tweet back to the taxpayers. But boy, out of Mather, it was easy living. Good, easy assignment.
Nice.
Yeah.
We had as a primary aircraft was the T-34, and we told the story ever so briefly a couple shows back, but I had a friend who was in flight school, and they were in the T-34 out doing the spin hop, and it had a mechanical and didn't recover either. And so they executed their bailout procedures. Instructor got out, and the student was a friend of mine, jumped out and landed right on the right wing and was pinned to it and literally low crawled to the end of the right wing and pushed himself clear and pulled his D-ring and got about a swing in the chute before his feet hit the water. So that was,
man, that's a story.
Yeah, it was. If famous throughout the training community.
I'm glad we're laughing about it, but that's
so
terrifying.
So am I. Yeah. He went on to get his wings and then wound up turning them in when two good friends of ours, mutual friends of ours, were killed pretty quickly in the Harrier community. He went, I'm done. I've had too many close calls and lost friends, and I'd rather go do something like sell shoes at Kinney or something.
Yeah, so, that Harrier was had a lot of losses.
Wasn't for the,
sadly
it
it
wasn't
did.
for
There
the
were a
fate
couple
of-
articles a few years back too about the whole program that I was not aware of when we were going through. I'd have been more terrified had I.
I'm glad I didn't know that at the time.
Wasn't the Harrier affectionately referred to as the whistling shit can of death, as I recall?
No,
No, wrong airplane.
No,
it
not
was never. It
not
was
by
never
us.
referred to.
In fact, I used to look at the KC-10s and the 141s and those guys going, you got no way to get out of that thing. We had a way to get out. If things went bad, we could pull the handle.
There you go.
That didn't always work out, but I was always afraid of the big ones you couldn't get out of, and now I fly one.
Yeah.
Juan, did you have any extracurricular excitement while you were flying 141s anywhere in the world? Anything stand out where you learned a valuable lesson or?
There was a few of them. There was the let's see, I think I was FO or a third pilot on this one. I vaguely remember a Cat 3 TACAN approach into Cairo, Egypt, in fuel. So one of them deals where the fog rolls in and all you got's the TACAN approach. And so it was one of those, go around, then the alternate's not available. And so we got to get in on this one. And it was a little bit below minimums. And I remember the aircraft commander asking if somebody would help pull this seat cushion out of his tail after we landed on that one. Right. And then there was one departing Ascension Island on a dark and stormy night over the middle of the water and just doing a normal climb out. And all of a sudden, all the cockpit lights up with lights and the stall warning system is going off. Stall, stall, stall.
Oh, that's fun.
But we weren't stalling. It was unreliable airspeed indications, and we just kept flying pitch and power, and I hollered at the guys to turn that damn system off, and kept flying the airplane.
That'll lead you down the primrose path, won't it?
Oh yeah. I've done a couple of scenarios in the sim that sure got me.
And that's Juan, you just hit on a very important aspect of anything off script. Fly the airplane.
Yep.
I mean, first things first. Somebody's got to fly the airplane.
How do you turn that automatic stuff off and fly the airplane? Known pitch and power setting.
Exactly.
So you did lead flying for the fire bombers.
Yeah, that was a fascinating job, man. I always thought it'd be cool to be a forward air controller. Well, that was that was a lifetime of anus clenching adventure crammed into 1 year of training in the Beach Baron flying for the Forest Service. And it was a dear old friend of mine that started me out on my primary instruction on this. And they kept saying, so you've flown low level before? And I said, well, yeah, military and all that. No, I mean, really low level. And I said, well, Reno air races, I've raced up there for about 5 years. And they says, well, that's more like it, because you take that first ride out in the lead plane and holy smokes, you are 150 feet off of the terrain flying blue line airspeed, your minimum safe single engine airspeed, working your way down smoke-filled canyons, trying to sort out how to effectively and safely deploy retardant on a forest fire with a tanker following a quarter mile behind you, a great big DC-4-6 or something like that, a quarter mile behind you, just building up a head of steam and just about fixing to overrun you.
Holy shit.
And it was a single pilot operation once you got qualified. And they would just hand you the whole show, the whole air show over a fire. And so you'd be up there with a grease pencil on the windshield and bunch of radios, like 4 different channels you're monitoring, and they're just throwing these tankers at you, and you got to figure out how you're going to use them, how you're going to deploy them, and then get them in the holding patterns, pick each one up individually, and lead them down the smoke-filled canyon and show them exactly where you wanted that retardant dropped, and then head them off, and then go up and pick up the next tanker and continue the operation.
Holy shit. How long, what would a normal day, hours-wise, be like for you doing that?
Well, the main thing on that job, we were a federal asset, so we didn't really stay at one particular base like so many other of the air tanker pilots do. They're kind of assigned one base for the whole season. So we'd wander all across the country. We'd start in Florida and work our way all the way across to California over a period of 6 months, kind of living out of the back of the airplane. So most of your time, like in most of these firefighting operations, just spent sitting around the tanker base on alert all day long, often not turning a wheel for days. And then once the alarm went off, well, what really irritated me at the time was they would always wait. They didn't want to time out the crews, it seemed like, so they would always wait until conditions were just at their absolute worst and there was very little, if anything, you could do about it. And then they would launch the lead planes and the large air tankers in the afternoon once the winds pick up, the turbulence picks up, and the fire picks up. And I was always arguing with them, why don't you let us get in there in the morning and attack it while conditions are calm, but they've got limited resources and they don't want to burn those resources up too soon. So
where's the challenge of that?
Yeah, so we'd get going in the afternoon. Wasn't a damn thing we could do about it. And we'd start dumping this retardant, and you would go until you not ran out of fuel, but until you burned up your fuel with reserves in the Baron. And then you would swap out with the other lead plane, and you'd do a little aerial conference as to what you're up to. And then you would go back to base while he worked his fuel load out, and you would get something to eat. And then you would come back to the fire when he was timed out of fuel, and do a little conference, and you go back and look at the fire that you were fighting, and you would say, what in the hell happened here? We're like 20 miles down range, and all these mountain ranges and valleys have burned between here and there since then on your one.
What the hell?
And so these are, because again, this is a federal asset, these are large fires, complex fires. We're managing the fire at this point. This is not the CAL FIRE effort where you're trying to keep small fires small. This was not necessarily initial attack kind of work. This was extended operations where you're into day 2, 3, and 4 of a large complex fire, trying to keep it managed.
That sounds like periods of complete boredom followed by
sheer panic terror, man.
Panic terror.
You'd be up there, and you'd rotate like that until sundown, and you'd be up in that smoke so long all day that you'd get a big old headache from breathing the smoke, and the turbulence would be so bad that your headset would bang off of the ceiling and fly into the back of the aircraft, and you'd have to say, hang on, let me reel my headset back on here, put it back on, and down we go, another smoke-filled canyon.
Oh, jeez.
And that eventually wore out those Barons. We literally flew the wings off of them, and they had to scrap the airframes after we got done with them.
Oh, man. How many hours? Is that like a 12,000 hour airframe or more?
Something along those lines. Yeah. We shortened them quite a bit with that job.
How long did you do that?
Well, that only lasted for me 1 year. So it was taking a full year, a full season of training with an instructor pilot. Some of the best damn pilots I've ever met in aviation, doing that job before the airlines called and got me out of the smoke-filled canyons.
Thank goodness.
Fine dining.
That's some real stick and rudder skills there, and evaluating the winds and the terrain and the weather and the wow.
Yeah, so that helps with the channel too when we get these kind of accidents with the firefighting aircraft that we can talk about them with some experience.
Juan, did you finish your military career with the Guard?
I screwed that up too, man. I don't, kid. Stay in there. Don't do as I did. Maybe these two knuckleheads, I'm not sure, but stay in and get your 20. Because the biggest problem is now we're 60, medical benefits. That's right. You want to get that. It's very important. All the old timers tried to tell me, but I didn't listen.
I lucked through it, and I stayed in, and they made them kick me out. Finally, but repeat kind of he
had 16 good years, whether I needed it or not.
See? Yeah, right overboard.
Yeah, not the smartest move I ever made.
See, so now you got to be a podcaster to make up the difference, and I got to be on YouTube. Retirement.
Juan, you mentioned something about air racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. What?
When? Another good story. So I'm always buying and selling small airplanes, and I bought and got into a pit special, a couple different pit specials over the years. Learning to fly the pit special, doing some sportsman aerobatic, and I kind of sucked at aerobatics. That's something you really got to practice hard and be disciplined at to get any good at, and spend a lot of time, money, effort, and energy just to get a rubber trophy. And then the Reno Air Races, National Championship Air Races biplane class back in the in the 1980s was kind of dying on the vine. They had some racing biplanes that were stealing the show, Sundancer, Sorceress, a couple of the really fast biplanes. And so nobody else wanted to compete against these exclusive racing biplanes that just ran away from the pack. So they developed a class of biplane that allowed just any old pit special to come on in and race. And they put out the word, calling all pit specials, come on up to the Reno Air Races. We've got a big purse to share between all of you. And some friends of mine were involved with it. So they got us talked into it, and and I'd been going to the Reno air races since forever as a kid, so I just jumped at the opportunity to race at the Reno National Championship air races. So I took this old pit special and a tent and camped out underneath the wing of the airplane and came home with like $1,500 in prize money, man. I just
Holy cow.
Cotton. And that was for coming in darn near last place, man. And it was the most fun I could have ever had, just ripping around the pylons at 50 feet above the ground at wide open throttle, trying to fly formation with a bunch of other guys that don't want to fly formation with you, and wake turbulence like you wouldn't believe. Just an absolute blast.
Well, that's so. If you wouldn't mind, we do have listeners that are not in the aviation world. Can you just break down what an air race is and what it looks like?
Oh yeah, sure, man. So Reno National Championship Air Race is old school pylon racing. So out there in the desert of Nevada, they've got a number of different race courses set up with these barrels. It's barrel racing. So each barrel is about 50 feet above the ground. And in the pit special course is about a 3-mile oval course. And the objective is, turn left, go fast, and first one wins. And it starts with the dreaded racehorse start. So you're sitting there with the squirrely little pit special where you can't see anything over the nose on the start line, wingtip to wingtip, 1, 2, 3, 4 of you, and then maybe a couple more in the back of the pack, which will get launched a second or two after the first guys go.
So you're sitting on the runway, right?
Sitting on the runway, your knees are just a trembling, waiting for that flagman to drop that dang flag, and he doesn't drop at the same time every time, just to keep you guessing so that you don't jump the line. And then bam, they drops that green flag, and we all just go like hell, jump the brakes and go like hell. And then we're all trying to get to the first pylon first. So there's this big crowd of airplanes all crowding in for the first pylon, and the rules are such that you have to keep your head has got to be no lower than the top of the pylon. And nowadays they have a height restriction. They don't want you flying any higher than 200 feet. So you got to stay in this little 150 foot or so range of altitude, ripping around the pylons. And of course, the closer you get to the pylon, the tighter the course you can fly. So,
and the faster the lap.
That's right. Yeah. But you got wake turbulence from everybody else. The biplanes put out 4 sets of wingtip vortices, and so you're just back there in the back getting rolled left and right, plus the winds and the turbulence of the desert itself. That's why we usually race earlier in the morning to get our race in there. And we'll go 6 or 8 laps like that, and pretty quick you get paired up. The airplanes can only go so fast, and you can... But sometimes you'll get in some great races, and if you've got a good formation partner, you can just kind of go back and forth there a little bit. And the rules of the race are you have to pass high and to the outside. You can never, ever, ever pass on the inside. You can never go belly up to another aircraft, as you know, in formation, because you can't see them, and you'll smack them every time. And so, So all that, of course, was before Air Force and all that for me. So that was learning the hard way, all that stuff. And then coming to land, of course, is the biggest part of the funnest part of the show in a pit special is landing a pits without ground looping it.
With tens of thousands of people watching you.
yeah. Doing down the runway we'd go.
Since you were talking about pit special, you opened with so there I was inverted spin.
Yeah, inverted flat spin. Yeah. So there I was.
So talk. How'd that happen?
Well, you get the pit special, and you're gonna learn how to do aerobatics, right? So I'll just kind of teach myself how to do aerobatics. I can figure this out. So you do your loop, roll, and spin, and you get that going pretty good. And it's time to start working on these hammerheads on the pits. So my hammerheads, self-taught, were looking more like a wing over than a proper hammerhead. And so I figure, I know what the problem is. I'm just not being aggressive enough with the rudder. I'm just going to give this thing the boot this time. So get it going on the vertical line straight up. Don't wait for the airspeed to decay properly. And so with a good amount of steam going straight up, I give that thing the boot. Wham! And it does exactly what you told it to do. And it just pops right into an perfect, beautiful inverted flat spin. Full power. The nose is on the horizon, spinning around. Wow, 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 upside down. And you go, oh, great. How do you get out of one of these? And again, I got the lesson before I got the training, and we'd always talked about it. Pit special, emergency spin recovery, just chop the power. And it seems like it went around for a turn and a half or two before this came through my feeble mind. And I said, and then you sit there and watch it in slow motion, chop the power, let go of the stick so you're not aggravating the situation.
Right.
Sure.
And then boot the opposite rudder. And that thing came out, it transitioned real quick to a beautiful inverted spin, and then just came out a little bit beyond inverted there and just pulled right out. Just came right out.
Nice.
Plenty of mistakes high, plenty of altitude.
Nice.
And
when you were inverted spinning, were you getting a negative G increase with each rotation? Or was it pretty like one?
No, you're falling right with the airplane.
Okay.
Coming down pretty quick.
Wow.
That's terrifying.
It did come back to your mind, though. We had the captain of Southwest 1380 who lost that engine about 5 years ago, going from LaGuardia to Dallas. And she said, the adrenaline that you get from that doesn't make you smart, but the ability to recall things like your emergency procedures. She goes, that's an amazing drug from that sense. Mm-hmm. She goes, all these things I wasn't sure I knew came right back to me, all the training. So, so that was good.
Once you get over the startle factor, it takes you a minute to go,
right.
What in the hell?
That's what gets you. It's like, how do you react? Anyway, hey, I've got a question from someone watching on Facebook. They want to know if there's any communication between the racers during the race. What radios do you have up?
Well, back in my day, we couldn't afford neither electrical system nor
So it was all
radio.
hand signals?
There was nothing, and nobody wanted to fly formation with you anyway. So it was hand propping of the aircraft there on the starting line, and there was no radios at the time. Oh. So you were just following the rules of the road of passing high on the outside. Now we do have radios nowadays, and we'll just maybe make a very quick radio call on your left, on your right. And one lesson I learned without radios is to help maintain situational awareness on the race course. I learned to read the shadows on the ground really well. The pits is notoriously blind. You got that big wing in front of you, and you can't see too good in front of you, and you got the wing below you. You can't see underneath you. Yeah. So, but the shadows on the ground, I could see who was around me, kind of like a crude TCAS, and then go find those guys and maintain situational awareness. And once the race gets going, everybody kind of gets locked into their position. Then your SA becomes a lot easier to read. But other than that, radios would be just a real short passing on your right. Or
that first turn, the first pylon's probably exciting.
Yeah, and you ain't got time to say nothing on the radio. You just gotta stay out of the way, man.
It's like the first turn on a motocross race.
Oh man, and then when the winds blow out of the west, the wrong direction, you'd have to do a scatter pylon start, and that was terrifying. That means you had to take off going the wrong way, opposite of the left-hand race course. Go the wrong way, go find a scatter pylon, and then do a full 180-degree turn around a scatter pylon with everybody all bunched up, and then enter the race course.
Oh, boy.
Wow. And then here's another interesting story about all that in the Reno air races. So back in them days, there was no formal training for air race pilots. I mean, there was a little bit when you got there during qualifying. Nowadays, there's a whole pylon racing school. And this is kind of why I got out of air racing, was because less and less qualified dudes would show up, doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs that just bought these planes the week before and decide they want to go air racing. And they'd get out there on the track and just get lost on a 3-mile oval. They couldn't find the freaking pylons, and they're cutting across the course all the wrong direction. And that's when I had a radio and said, here he comes again, look out, man. And that kind of just put me off of air racing. But eventually the association developed a professional pylon racing school and helped tighten all that up and made the whole thing a bit safer.
Well, that's good. Oh,
Yeah. Well,
sounds cool,
geez.
but terrifying.
It does. You know, it's on my bucket list of things to do. Go to the Reno air races, and
Well, you better go this year because this is it, man. This is the last time you'll ever see air racing at Reno
seriously
ever again. This is
Well,
the
why?
end of the Reno National Championship air race. This year, it's going to be the biggest damn reunion party you ever seen, and that's the best thing about the air races is the people. All your friends that you've been hanging out with for the last 40 or 50 years at the air races will be there, and the air racing ain't what it used to be back in the day, but it's still happening, and it's the last chance you'll ever get to see closed course
So at
pylon
the risk
racing.
of increasing the crowd size, when is that?
September, the middle of September, 15, 16, 17, right in there. Every year at the same time. It's mid-September.
and this is the last year, huh?
Last year, they finally, the economics of it finally caught up to them. The lack of crowds. It's a whole new generation of folks there that the World War II guys that really were into it are gone. And then you got encroachment. And finally, I think the final nail in the coffin was freight haulers working out of Reno Stead Airport did not want to see the airport shut down for 2 weeks for the air races when they want to continue to get their freight moving in and out of Stead, as that's an ever-growing freight depot. Wow. So they're considering trying to find a new location for the air races, maybe Wendover, we don't know, but that's going to be a huge deal to try to move it and get enough people to come out to watch it.
Yeah, it has to be somewhere you can access, but have wide open airspace
wide
to
open
fly
spaces.
in. And
Yep. And that land, the Air Race Association owns that land, thousands of acres, but it's very valuable now, and it's going to be worth a lot more sold off and developed than it is for air racing.
Shit. Well, shit.
Exactly.
That's just
So
part
you
of
better
change.
get out there this year.
That's just rude. Well, I'm going to have to work on that then. I did not realize that was that was coming to an end, the end of an era.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this is it. Then I need to go or shut the hell up.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. We got to figure out how to get out there and how to do a show or two from there.
Oh,
That'd be our
easy.
excuse.
Well, you'd probably have to record it. The
In a
Wi-Fi
hotel room
It's
or
not going to be
something,
strong
yeah.
enough to stream, but you could record it.
Yeah.
And then anybody in aviation is out there, so they'll be there.
Well, how about
Right.
that?
Yeah.
Got to make it happen.
I think I saw a note about a engine failure somewhere over the Pacific.
Oh yeah, yep. The old 757 engine failure. You know, you go through your whole career. Have you guys in your airline career? Have you guys even had an engine failure since
Not
flight?
one.
I've had to shut them down, but
You've had one to shut down.
yeah, it was actually just a frozen throttle cable on a DC-10, and so couldn't land with 90% power.
Yeah, 1 out of 3 ain't bad.
So yeah,
yeah, super reliable. To the listeners out there, you can go through a whole 20+ year career and not have an engine failure. But we finally got one. It was a few years ago. 777 out of it was a Hilo. No, I'm sorry, not 777. It was a 757 coming from Hawaii going back to LA, and that is always done in the middle of the night, and it's about 3 in the morning, and we're about an hour and 45 minutes still away from Los Angeles. Just cruising along, trying to stay awake, and we get a filter bypass light. Bink, lights up.
Oh.
And
okay.
The checklist doesn't tell you much about a filter bypass light. And in the
Is that
7.5,
oil or fuel?
I believe that's the oil filter bypass
Oil
light.
filter. Okay.
And the 767 book says, the engine might shut down. But it didn't say that in the 7.5 manual at the time. So we figured, we might get busy.
Now.
Suggest a change. We might get busy, so let's go ahead and do our bathroom break now. So I'm in the right seat. Captain gets up to go to the bathroom. And at the time, I think we had the flight attendant up there during the bathroom break. And sure enough, boo, number one engine just shuts down just instantly, just like as if somebody had hit the fuel cutoff switch.
No way.
So
A little bit of a
So
yaw.
I'm
Captain
sitting there
comes
to
back
write-
on the flight deck with piss all
what
over his
did you
shoes.
do,
yeah,
Juan?
what did you do? I said, I kind of look back to the flight attendant, get it back up here. And so I kind of wait a few potatoes because I'm thinking, what do I do? Should I just start jumping into doing procedures and flipping switches and carrying on my own and getting off track and starting the descent? Or I'm just wait. Let's just wait a few seconds here for the captain to get back in his seat so that we can work together as a team and get this thing done. Well, he heard it shut down in the engine, so he was back in pretty quick, and I had to power up on the good engine, and Mr. Airspeed was just very slowly decaying as we were holding our altitude on one engine. Then together as a team, we went through the whole procedure of getting off the track. You know, you're on a non-radar track in Hawaii, so you got to do the 30 degrees off and holler on the radio that mayday, 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 and anybody that's in the area, we're coming down off of the track. So you do your routine and do your MCT descent to a habitable altitude. So you're in the mid 30s or so, and on one engine you can hold somewhere in the low to middle 20s. So you get so many miles off of the track and then turn to parallel. And then we just continued straight on in. At that point, the difference between LA and San Francisco, you're only two alternate airports. That's the unique thing about flying the Hawaii routes is I think, the longest route in the world without a suitable alternate airport.
It is. It's the longest overwater leg that you don't have an escape route.
Right.
Really.
It's either where you came from or where you're going. So you got your ETP point figured out, and we were beyond the ETP. So we knew we were continuing west, and the difference between San Francisco and LA was marginally different. And so we just continued straight on into LA in the low 20s. And so there you just sit there on one engine after you get done with all the checklists, pondering life on one engine over the Pacific at 3 a.m. And of course, the coastal fog, the marine layer, moves in to LA and,
right at sunrise. Yeah,
right at sunrise. So it's a single engine ILS to Mins, and I got to do the approach, and it all worked out beautifully. And I just left the autopilot on the whole time and didn't turn it off until we broke out. 1 mile visibility. And by the time I clicked that autopilot off, that airplane was so well perfectly trimmed up. It was just the easiest thing in the world, a single engine approach and landing in the Boeing 757, much easier than in the simulator. Rolled right in there, greased it on. The whole thing was so quiet at 3 a.m. We only discussed it with the flight attendants as to what had happened. We didn't even mention it to the passengers until after we landed. We said, we're going to stop here on the runway and have some fire trucks check us out real quick, and then we'll be taxiing to the gate shortly. And so the passengers slept through the entire event. They had no idea what had happened.
That's the way you want it, right?
Yeah, nice and calm. And the flight attendants had that look in their eye when you pop open the door, and that's pretty emotional when you see that. But the passengers are just waking up saying, which way is the gate to Poughkeepsie?
Yeah,
It's just
right.
You had no idea. We'd sit there on one
know
end.
what gate, what carousel my bag will be at?
Yeah. Well, actually,
Juan,
the closest I came to that, we were coming out of, I was a passenger with my wife coming out of Venice, Italy, and we were going to New York, and we got business class. She's a retired sandwich girl. I think I've explained that call sign before. So she's a retired sandwich girl from Delta Airlines. We're riding in business class, and the gal comes right just after serving food. About 5 minutes later, comes around and rips our trays away and goes, we're going to Paris. Don't know why. My wife goes, well, she would know why if it was a medical or a problem behind the door. So it must be a problem in the front office. And about that time, the captain comes on and makes the announcement that they've had a catastrophic loss of oil in one of the engines and had to shut it down, and we can't cross the Atlantic. Yeah. Hint to all you airline captains out there, don't use the word catastrophic.
Yeah, you just freak them out, man. Don't freak out the passengers. Oh, man.
Or fire engine.
Yeah.
It's a nice, gentle, easy, but you would have never known it if you hadn't said anything.
Juan, you used an acronym I don't think we've covered before. ETP.
There you go. Good catch.
Yep. Equal time. Equal time point. So there's
there's an equal distance between 2 points, but what really matters when you're flying is the equal time point, because you're going to have a headwind or a tailwind. So you got to figure out at which point between here and Hawaii are you going to be halfway there time wise. So
Right.
that's the point you have on your flight plan, and you have predetermined, and you keep track of for your situational awareness. In the event of an emergency, we are now beyond our ETP, our equal time point. We are going to continue on to our destination.
Perfect.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you were prior to your equal time point, you would turn around and go back to where you started.
That's right. Yep.
That's all long range navigation over water. So,
Yeah, and you'll have several ETP points, for example, going from LA to Sydney, Australia.
yes, you do.
Yeah, that takes a minute, doesn't it?
It does
Cow.
indeed.
That's a big
And
flight.
I've actually got
16
a
hours.
couple pretty cool pictures, because there's a point there when we do that, we go right by where the international date line and the equator intersect. So I draw that out on the nav display and take a picture of that, and I've got this somewhere.
There's a big buoy floating out there, though, isn't there?
Absolutely. Just like
Yesterday's
the
news
red
tomorrow.
pole at the North Pole.
Yeah. Standing North Pole.
Juan, tell us about paying it forward in scholarships. How's that?
So a couple of things. While I was away on a trip, they elected me president of our local flying club, so I didn't have
great.
a say in-
Congratulations.
Yeah. And a big part of that flying club is to raise money each year for local pilot scholarships. So we've been doing that with having our little fly-ins and giving away rides for a donation towards the scholarship with the FAA's blessing on that. We give away about $10,000 a year in scholarship money to usually about 2 different young aviators that are getting all of their ratings.
Nice.
And on a recent development on the Blancolirio channel, young summer intern Kellen, who has got his private and instrument and is working on his commercial rating. He's been instrumental and as a summer intern with IT help around here, like getting the microphones to work. So, and I've been getting bugged for merch. Where's your merch, Brownie? You don't have any merch on your website or your YouTube channel. And I don't have time for that. So I just handed it all over to Kellen. I said, Kellen, you work out the merch and you can keep all the profit and put it all towards your flying career. So he developed this T-shirt here, for example, with the now famous Kablamo logo on the back of it, and a bunch of other stuff. And he's got it there on Spreadshop, and it's helping for him to pay for his flying program. Then we bought a little RV-12 project and got some kids up there at the airport learning how to pound rivets on the RV-12. And
Nice.
I sold the Mighty Luscombe and picked up a Piper Cub and have been giving some introductory lessons to some young folks of the stick and rudder skills in the Piper Cub. No better aircraft to learn stick and rudder skills than in an old J3 with 85 horse.
You gotta fly
No
that thing
hydraulic
till the prop
failures there?
stops.
No nothing. No electrical, hand prop.
Well, Sticks sent a question there. Repeat, and I don't know if you want to even talk about this or not, but what's the best way to start a scholarship for an organization like that? Do you know the nuts and bolts behind it?
Yeah, I'm learning about this right now, and where I think we're going to go with this, and what our over here in Auburn, California, our neighbors, what they've done. The best way to go about this, and this is something I want to set up, and I'm willing to make a big chunk of donation to get this ball rolling, is to set up an endowment program. So when you get some retired folks or some that want to pay it forward, if you can get a big chunk of money rolling, like $200,000 or $300,000, and then just peel off of that 4% each year to provide a little $10,000 scholarship. Them numbers ain't right, but you know what I mean. Yeah, you take a little bit off of it each year for scholarships, and then continue to grow the endowment by, especially when maybe folks pass away and they leave some money behind, they can leave a little money into this endowment, and then you can get a kind of a self-funded scholarship program in perpetuity. perpetuity. How do you say that, Benny?
Perpetuity, baby.
That's it.
The 50-cent word of the day.
I can't spell it, but I know what it means.
And so that I think is the best way to do a scholarship program if you've got that seed money to get it started.
All right, Sticks.
And
there you go, buddy.
Legal issues in there too with the
You got to get a money guy to handle it
501c3.
all, and do all that. And so that's
lest you pay taxes on the donations.
Yep.
So,
Right. All right. Excellent. Well, that's awesome,
very cool.
and thank you for doing that as a fellow aviator and somebody who is passionate about especially general aviation. Hey, by the way, what kind of airplanes do you currently have?
I'm trying to quit, man.
I know, right? So Repeat's got a Grumman Tiger.
Good.
I've got a Debonair. What do you have?
Good. I got the Aviator Husky, 1997 Aviator Husky.
What motor's on that?
That's they all pretty much the same. Got the 0360 Lycoming 180 horse Lycoming.
That's what I got on my Tiger. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Bulletproof engine, great engine. Just had another great adventure up there in Idaho. Let's see. You see, you want a picture of it. Let me see here. Can you see? There it is.
Hey.
Yeah. And a rather precarious.
That wingtip isn't touching the ground yet.
Yeah, that was a little too close for comfort. The full stall landing was a little more than bargained for.
Beautiful.
The spin entry was interrupted by ground contact. I've become recently the caretaker for a 1959 Cessna 310 aircraft, and that's eating my lunch financially, and so I'm learning all about the vicissitudes of owning an older light twin.
Oh boy!
And then sold the last one and picked up that J3 Cub, a beautifully restored J3 Cub.
Wow, how fun!
Very nice. And I imagine that's probably the funnest of the three.
Yeah, it is. It sure is. That's pure flying right there. It's doors and windows wide open, real organic flying, low and slow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very cool.
So hangars, that's the first problem, kids, is you got to get the hangar before you get the airplane.
That's right.
There's a big shortage of hangars around.
Several years of waiting lists in New England.
It's a tight commodity.
Yes. Yep.
Well, thank you for all that. I don't know. I'm kind of out of questions. Repeat.
Yeah.
We've been at it for over an hour, boys. Good grief.
Right, we have indeed. So we probably ought to land this plane. But
Boy, that
thank you
went
for
fast.
your
I
service.
didn't realize it had been an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Juan,
cool.
thank you
too,
for your
guys.
service.
It's
good to see you again. I mean, I didn't put it together until you said Reno C-130s, and then that's what I went. That's why you went.
Now, were you going through as a student at the time also, or were you
I was. So I had just been. I just got off active duty from the Marines, and I was a Harrier guy, and I had just finished a 2 resident instructor, and I had been at the airline that I'm currently employed at when I took military leave and went to C-130 school.
Good.
I was in the Guard, St. Joe.
Good.
So I went through the same program you did. At about the same time, because I remember from there.
Very good. And you were smart. You stuck it out for 20 years plus.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, thank you very much. And I guess, we will land this plane now. We've got to say some other thank yous. We got to say thank you to Dave Brown over at Backbeat Media. They provide all the advertising for this show. He's got the Mac Geek Gab, the Gig Gab, and the Business Brain. Thank you also to
Hold on a second, Repeat.
I'm sorry.
That's Dave Hamilton.
Dave Hamilton, the man.
Dave Hamilton. I think you got Juan Brown and Dave Hamilton mixed up. You called him Dave Brown.
I knew that. I was just seeing if you noticed.
Thank you, Dave Hamilton.
Somebody's paying attention around here.
Thank you.
Or we could call him Juan Hamilton.
Juan Hamilton.
Thank you,
There
Dave.
you go. Now, I went to flight school with a gent by the name of Dave Brown, who sadly passed away when Columbia broke up on reentry back many years ago. But so that's probably where that came out of. Sorry about that. So yes, thank you, Dave Hamilton over at Backbeat Media. Thank you to our new patron. New call sign here. Fig, come up with it quick. It's going to be tough. Steve Bates.
Because that's like call sign master.
It's got to be. So thanks
Sorry,
to
Steve.
sorry about that. Yeah. So thanks to Brad Silcott over at BDS. That's Bravo Delta Sierra Aviationphotography.com. He's given us some new photos to put up as the background on our website. We do have a merch store, sotherawas.us/merch, and we also have a glossary where you can go and find ETP and ATC and all those sorts of things. And anything we mentioned that you didn't get, please let us know. And what we started asking for last week, if you've got a photo of you listening to this show in an unusual place, send it in. We'll get it up on the website. We have one from the top of Mount Fuji. That's going up this week. I don't know. I'm trying to think. There may be one other thank you we need to get out of the way, Fig. Can you think of any?
We need to say thanks to the guys that make the Air Force sound good. The Dos Gringos.
Yeah, we do.
That's right. Those guys.
For letting us use their music and for being great artists. And not, I hear pretty good F-16 pilots. I don't know.
In the honor of Oscar Brand. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's perfect stuff. So, until next week, everybody, stay safe and
Check 6.
See you here.
there you go.
Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed to save your life. But we knew there was no way. 'Cause when you're going down the North Atlantic, man, it's over.
Hold on now. What do you say, Fig?
He said it's over.
Oh, I hope do not press means press right away.